everyone. Bonjour à tous. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone.
Poivre, and I will be your moderator. Before we begin, please note that this press conference includes simultaneous and sign language interpretation services. It is available either in full French or in full English. If you're watching live, you can find our stream in each language on YouTube. Simply search our channels at City of Ottawa or Ville d'Ottawa. A note to media outlets joining us on Zoom. If you would like audio interpretation, click the interpretation globe icon in the bottom menu, then select your preferred language. You can ask your questions in the language of your choice. Today, we will be hearing remarks from Renee Amilcar, General Manager, Transit Services Department, and Troy Charter, Director, Transit Services Delivery and Rail Operations. Available to answer questions from the media, we also have Richard Holder, Director, Engineering Services, Nicolas Truchon, Chief Executive Officer, Rideau Transit Group, and Enrique Martinez, General Manager, Rideau Transit Maintenance. At this time, I would like to invite Renee Amilcar, General Manager of the Transit Service Department, to say a few words. Renee.
Merci beaucoup, Nick. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you for being here today. We are now on the 10th day of this service disruption. Today, I would like to provide more information about our return to service plan. I'm pleased to say that at this time, we continue to anticipate that service will begin on Monday, July 31st. As you know, there are 3 elements required before we can begin the safe, gradual resumption of Line 1 service. They are, first, inspecting all vehicles in the fleet. This was completed on Monday. 6 vehicles are undergoing further investigations. Second, the results of an analysis of the hub assembly from the manufacturer, Texalis. This is expected on July 20th. Third, and finally, a safety note from Alstom and RTG. Earlier today, the city received the draft safety note. OC Transpo continues to work with Alstom and RTG to finalize this note, but we are very close. The safety note lays out plans for an inspection and replacement regime that ensures Line 1 operates safely. This includes continuing with all mitigation measures already in place. The leading and trailing bogie axles will be replaced every 60,000 kilometers. The frequency of inspection of the 3 middle bogies will increase. As a result of this enhanced inspection and replacement program, not all trains will be available to begin service as they undergo hub replacements based on their current mileage. We are committed to restoring rail service gradually when it is safe to do so. Considering the new safety note, considering the ongoing lower ridership, and that Line 1 was built to operate either single or double car trains, we have determined a plan for the gradual return to service. The plan will be to operate Line 1 between Blair and Tudis Pastors stations with 8 single car trains. Every 7 to 8 minutes, we'll have a train. Aron will continue to operate in parallel to Line 1. Given the current ridership levels, we believe that the service level will be able to accommodate customers. Our focus is on ensuring that our customers can rely on a sustainable rail service over the long term. We will be carefully managing our supply of vehicles to ensure there are enough ready to operate while also meeting the more frequent wheel hub assembly replacement requirements. Once we can be assured that there is a sustainable number of vehicles for daily operation, we will assess the possibility of increasing the number of trains in service. We continue to work with our partners to finalize the full details of the service plan, but I wanted to provide the information we currently have. As a reminder, the last requirement, which is the Texalis report, is due this Friday. I know this is not the level of service our customers expect on O-Train, and I really appreciate your passions as we work to improve service without compromising safety. Je suis très consciente que c'est pas le niveau de service que les
I
résidents
know that this isn't the level of service that Ottawa residents deserve,
mais sachez que
but
au plus
do know that
tant et si longtemps que le service ne sera pas sécuritaire,
if service is not safe, I will not be able to restart this service. We are working very hard to get it going again very quickly.
to reiterate that
Je-
a permanent fix is on the way. I would like now to introduce Troy Charter, Director of Transit Service Delivery and Rail Operations, to provide further details on the gradual return to service plan. Merci beaucoup. Over to you, Troy.
Merci, Renee. Yeah, so this afternoon, I'd like to provide an update on what the gradual resumption of service will mean for our customers. As Madame Amilcar has mentioned, there is a reduction in the number of light rail vehicles that can be put into operation when we start the gradual, safe return to service. But here's what customers can expect next week. Line 1 will service all stations. Service will start and end as part of the normal service schedule, 7 days a week. We will also continue to run R1 replacement bus service in parallel. And as always, our Transit Operations Control Center will continue to monitor both the bus and rail service and will make adjustments where necessary. That said, there is a lot of logistics underway to prepare to welcome customers back. These activities include reviewing all the stations to ensure that they're clean and ready to open, scheduling our electric rail operators, verifying the stations, track, and all the infrastructure are ready for operations, as well as ensuring that all the customer signage and announcement systems are working. To further support our customers, we will have staff at key stations across the line, and we'll continue to share updates on our website, on our social media platforms, as well as on the Transit app. I understand that this train configuration is not what customers are accustomed to. The operations team is working closely with our customer communications group to identify additional signage and wayfinding materials that will assist customers navigate the stations and platforms as they become familiar with a single train operation. We'd also like to hear from our customers when the gradual return to service begins. We appreciate all feedback that will allow us to make adjustments to help customers navigate the stations and the single car format of the train system. As Madame Amilcar has indicated, train frequency will be every 7 to 8 minutes while we're running the 8 single car trains. With the 8 single car trains and the parallel R1 bus service, we can provide the capacity required to meet the customer volumes that we're currently seeing on the system. Our team in rail operations will be getting ready over the weekend for the start of the gradual return to service. We'll be running trains on Saturday and Sunday to ensure that we capture any potential fine-tuning required and be ready to welcome customers back to Line 1. I know that this disruption has been too long for our customers. Our electric rail operators and our entire team are ready to welcome customers back to our system, and we are looking forward to the safe resumption of Line 1 service next week. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you, Troy. I will now invite each media agency to ask their questions. You may ask one question with one follow-up. We'll start today with Elise Skura at CBC Ottawa.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I have a question about the 60,000 kilometers replacement. It seems a lot lower than the current 175,000 kilometers, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. How many of the vehicles in the fleet are already at that mileage?
Enrique, please.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Well, at this moment, we have 5 vehicles that meet that requirement, but we are working in replacing the axles in the rest of the fleet. So by the end of today, we will have another 2 additional vehicles, which makes a total of 7 And the expectation is to have a total of 10 by Sunday, so we can have 8 single trains plus 2 spares. And we continue working in that during the next weeks to recover all the fleet so we can go back to normal service as soon as possible.
Okay, so just to clarify, basically all of the fleet needs to have the replacement, and you're already now going to be at 7 and you should have 10 by Monday. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. And now that this is, such a lower threshold for replacement, and the replacements will have to happen more often, can we expect that there's going to be an effect on the level of service that's able to be provided going forward, since the permanent fix is not going to be fully in place for a few years?
Thank you very much for the question. So this is the reason why we will start the service with 8 single trains, and we'll probably keep 8 single trains for weeks. In parallel, we'll run the errand service because we want to be able to have more other trains with the right axle, and after that, we will need to do a permutation to make sure that we can continue to offer a sustainable service. So when we will achieve a certain amount of availability, we will be able to increase the number of trains. However, in parallel, in the meantime, we will continue to offer the service with the errand and those 8 vehicles. And I would like as well to say that I had verified with my team, and the level of the ridership that we have now with 8 single trains and the errand service, this will be a very, very good service.
Right, sorry. And just to clarify, I understand it will be a problem for a few weeks, but if we're replacing all of these axles basically at once, since everything's already met the current the mileage, like, will this be a problem again in the future that will have to reduce service?
Mathematically speaking, and this is why we are working with everyone now, it's to avoid that. So we will control that. We will make sure that we will change the axles when they will come due to be changed, but we will need to manage the mileage to make sure that all of them are not due in the same time.
Thank you. And I'm sorry,
Thank
I
you,
know
Elise.
I've done my questions. Could you, we don't
We'll
have a red pen
time for a
reporter.
second round of questions.
Yes,
Elise?
I just wondered if she could repeat it in French. Sorry, my apologies.
Sure, that's sure.
Sure, I can repeat it in French. So for the first period, we're going to offer service with 8 vehicles, and with time, we're going to include more vehicles. And so what we will do is manage the mileage to make sure that we don't have to change the axles at the same time, or the hubs at the same time for all of the vehicles.
Anand at CBC Radio.
Thank you. My question today is this plan for a progressive return to service with the 8 single car trains and the R1 bus service running parallelly. How long is that expected to go on for?
We will continue to work because the trigger here is the capacity of Alstom to change those axles. So we will continue to work with them to make sure that we can increase the service with the trains, and we can continue the maintenance regime that we have in place to continue to deliver a sustainable service.
Just to clarify, these 8 single car trains and the R1 bus service running parallelly, we can expect to see that Monday, but can we expect to see that going into next week, the week after that? And is it all 36 R1 buses that are going to be running?
For now, the service errand will stay as is, and we'll monitor everything with our TOCC folks. And it will depend of the capacity of Alstom to change those axles. So when we have more vehicles, we will be able to increase the availability of vehicles that we will run. However, to be able to assure a sustainable service, we will need to have enough vehicles. and we'll keep you posted for sure because we have daily conference press anyway, so we will be able to keep you posted on that. But for now, for sure, next week it will be 8 trains plus the errand service.
I'm so sorry. I didn't catch whether that was going to be all 36 R1 service buses. And if you could repeat the answer in French, that would be amazing.
Yes, it will be the 36 buses as today. Alors, pour la semaine prochaine.
So for next week, we're going to keep our 8 single-car trains from Blair to Tunney's pasture, and we will continue with the R1 bus service as well to make sure that there is this parallel service offered to users. So that's how it will stay next week. And we will continue to work on the remaining LRVs. And when more trains are able to be put in service, we will slowly increase the number of trains. But please understand that if we have 2 more trains, this doesn't mean we're going to use both of those trains. We also have to maintain a certain maintenance schedule.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
We can. Go ahead, please.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So my question is about uncoupling the trains. We've gotten used to over the last 4 years having 2 train cars together at once serving all the stations. You're going to be uncoupling them, just having a single car each time. Can you tell me how long this will be in place? Is this going to be a permanent change? Is it just going to be for a few weeks until all of these axles are replaced? Or is this going to be something that is going to be in place until the wheel hub redesign and replacement, the permanent fix, is in place in 2 or 3 years from now?
Thank you for the question. For now, we can say that this measure will stay in place until Alstom review the safety note. So with the safety note that we have now, to assure a sustainable service, we have to run 1 single train. However, we will work with Alstom to put more trains on service, and potentially we could maybe have two trains coupled together. But for now, with the safety net that we have, definitively we will stay with 1 single train. If we need to keep a headway that which is consists to have a train every 7-8 minutes with 8 trains.
Okay. And my second question is about the R1 service. You're going to be running this parallel basically the entire time you're doing the single train thing. How is this going to affect the bus service elsewhere in the system? Because we know that the R1 takes buses away from other routes. It's hundreds of trips a day. Is there any plan or any capacity to bolster the rest of the bus system to continue to run these R1 buses parallel with the LRT?
For now, we will continue to do what we have done over the last week. So we will try to offer overtime to bus drivers, and we will try to remove some routes where it's possible to keep those 36 buses. However, we will continue to monitor as well how the service with the rail side will go, and we will have the opportunity as well potentially to augment the number of vehicles. So we will monitor everything. So for the next week, I will say it will be stable, 36 errand service and the 8 vehicles. And we will continue to work with Alstom and RTG to see what else we can put in place to bring maybe to have more trains. And so we can just give a break to the bus side.
We'll go next to Joanne Locious at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi, this is a little bit like a math problem, but can you give us any idea how long it will take to get back to normal?
It's maybe I will ask Enrique to maybe to let us know when you think we will be able, Enrique.
Thank you for the question. It's complicated to say no when the fleet will be completely back to the normal condition. At this moment, we are working 24/7 in recovering trains and bringing back to the new requirements. We can guarantee that it seems there are no problems in terms of spare parts, components. We are also reinforcing all our facilities in the maintenance and storage facility in order to have more capacity to replace the axles. At this moment, we cannot commit in a specific date, but we are working against the clock to go back to normal service as soon as possible.
Okay, I've forgotten the next question. Okay, on to the next person. Thanks.
Thank you, Joanne. We can come back for further questions at the end. On va maintenant à Frédéric Pépin avec Radio-Canada.
Frédéric Pépin from Radio-Canada, please go ahead. Hello, Madame Amilcar. I just wanted to make sure that I understood correctly. How much time will people in Ottawa see trains that only have one car? How much time will this last for? Hello, yes. At the moment, it's difficult for us to say. We are currently modifying all of the LRVs that are not up to the standards set in the security note from Alstom. There are all kinds of other issues, staffing issues, other issues to consider. So that's why for the time being, we're going to continue to offer service with 8 trains, and we will continue to offer the bus service. And when I get more information, I will share it with you. Perfect. Madame Amilcar, could you tell us what you think? What message does this send to the residents of Ottawa, the City Council of Ottawa, the Ontario government? Minister Doug Ford made some comments recently on the LRV situation, or LRT situation rather. What message does this send for people to see smaller trains on the rails? They might think that the trains that they had were not trustworthy. That's why the trains had to be shortened. This really sends a message that the trains are not reliable because they're shorter. What do you think? What are you going to do to restore people's confidence and trust? They paid for these trains and they expected to see these trains in Ottawa. Thank you for your question. It's a positive message. We are taking no risks. OC Transpo and Ottawa are not taking any risks. That being said, the train system was designed to be able to operate with either one train or 2 trains attached or coupled rather. So at the moment, we should say that Ottawa really has done a great job because they saw that there was a potential to offer service according to demand. That's why today I'm happy to say that we will gradually be able to offer the service once again. Yes, sorry, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I heard you say that you're not proud of the fact that you have to put single car trains on the rails. What I said was that I wasn't proud of the service interruptions, but I am proud rather of the fact that safety is paramount to us.
Let's go to Robert Hiltz at the Ottawa Lookout.
Hi there. I guess I'm just sort of trying to get a sense of like you said that you don't think the ridership is high enough to need the second level of trains with the R1. Can you give us an idea of what the ridership is and sort of how you can be so confident?
Thank you very much for the question. I don't have it on the top of my head. However, I can tell you that during the last Transit Commission, I have said the ridership of this train was 43% compared to 2019, but this is the average, and we know that during the summertime, the ridership is lower than during the winter time. So we have a lot of data, and I spoke with my folks this morning, and I'm confident with 8 trains. I have enough place for everyone. However, I want to give a good service to the resident, so that's why we will keep the air-run service in parallel.
Okay, and I know you don't have exact timelines yet for when all the trains are going to be back, but sort of can we expect things to be closer to normal by I don't know, September when kids are going back to school?
We continue to work around the clock to make it happen. And I can tell you that we will increase the availability when it will be safe to do so. But at least now we have a service. We are seeing the light on the tunnel, and we are very, very happy that we can gradually resume the service and to bring the rail system to citizens of Ottawa.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We do have time for a few more questions. So as usual, we'll just ask that reporters, journalists in the room use the raise hand function, and we will come to you in a few seconds when we see some hands. Okay, we'll go to Ted Raymond at CTV.
Hi, thanks for taking some more questions. I just want to go back to something you said just about the 60,000 kilometer replacement regime. I know you're going to try to manage. You said you're going to try to manage the timing and the mileage so that they don't all come back up at once. But I wonder if someone could kind of comment on what kind of pressure this additional, more rapid replacement of these wheel hubs will put on maintenance teams. Like what extra pressure is this going to take? Is going to put on the maintenance crews?
Enrique, please.
Yes, thank you for the question. Obviously, it's evident that this modification in the maintenance schedule is introducing a more workload. That is evident. But we are also working in different aspects, trying to mitigate that impact. We are reinforcing our maintenance teams. We're also increasing the capacity of the MSF, incorporating new trucks to do that inspections. So we are considering that point, and we are very aware about the quality and safety. It's a priority. So all our quality systems are in place, and we are not reducing any of the requirements in terms of the quality of the work that is being done in the MSF.
Thanks, Ted. We'll go next to Elise Skura at CBC.
Thanks very much. I'm just trying to imagine what the service will kind of look like with the dual train and R1 bus. So will staff kind of be monitoring whether the train is being like, I don't know, there's too much pressure on the train and then encouraging people to take the bus? Or is it just we're relying on people to decide which they would prefer to take?
Troy, please.
Thank you very much. That's a great question. No, we have staff in our Transit Operations Control Center. They work 24/7, 365. They have access to cameras throughout the LRT system as well as the bus system. As well, we have staff that are working out in the field, on the street, and in stations. So we'll be using that staff very, very proactively to monitor the service, both the bus and the rail service, and make adjustments where we can and where needed. But ultimately, at the end of the day, our customers will have a choice to make if they want to take the rail line or they can take the bus service. And that's one of the reasons why we want to make sure that we're running both services in parallel, is to give the customers the option and the opportunity to choose which mode of transportation they want. But we will be actively monitoring both through our control center as well as with our staff, and those communications and dialogue amongst the teams will continue, and we'll make those adjustments. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you. We can go next to Joanne Locious at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi. Okay, so the current interval is 175 kilometers, and the new interval will be 60,000 kilometers, correct? So at 175,000 kilometers, how frequently do the axles need to be changed? Is this something that's done every month, every 2 months? How often?
I can ask Enrique to answer this question. However, I can say that the 60,000 will take 6 months.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Yeah, thank you, Renee. That's exactly the 60,000 will take 6 months. The previous inspection that we were performing with the previous criteria was 175,000, and that was basically about, let's say, 4 years for the replacement, between the replacements of the axles. So it's a significant difference. But yeah, we're about that, aware about this, but it's the situation that we have now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. We can go now to Avantika Anand at CBC.
Thank you. Yesterday, I had asked regarding the cost that the city is facing with the LRT shutdown, running the R1 bus service, overtime, extra personnel, all of that. Renee Amilcar mentioned that she had that number, but not at the top of her head. Since then, the response from the city has been that the number is not going to be provided at this moment because it is fluid. While I understand it's fluid, as Renee mentioned yesterday, there is a number for that cost up to date. I'm hoping you can provide me that number.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so effectively, this is a daily cost that fluctuates a lot. So we'll provide this number probably at the next Transit Commission when we will compile everything. So because we will provide this info to Council, and this info will be available to you as well.
Just another question, very briefly. The single car trains, how many people can they carry at once?
300 people.
Thank you. On va maintenant à Frédéric Pépin avec Radio-Canada.
Thank you. Frédéric Pépin from Radio-Canada. Go ahead, please. Yes, I just wanted to make sure I have the right numbers. So you said that the total for the fleet is 45 vehicles. There will be 10 that will be ready Monday. Does this mean that there are 35 that need to have those things replaced that you mentioned that need to be replaced every 60,000 kilometers? Yes. Okay, 35. Great, thank you. Madame Amilcar, could you also tell us if all of these things will impact the phase 2, the launching of phase 2? Because you're talking about this service until the new wheel system is available 2 or 3 years from now. Will this impact the launching of phase 2, the other phases of this project? No, because we are very confident that we're going to work with RTG to work on these measures that my colleague Richard explained yesterday. So the top of the rail lubrication, we will continue to analyze the results of these tests that we will do and analyze the security impacts of that. This is so important to mention that we're working with worst case scenarios. We're trying to be very careful. We're making sure that everything is safe and that we don't take any risks. With time, we're going to analyze the results of the tests. This will all be reevaluated by Alstom.
I would like to say that those mitigation measures that we're discussing today. It's the worst scenario because Alstom will continue to analyze the test, will put in place the lubrication that we talked about yesterday, and that will bring Alstom to revise the safety note. So now it's only the worst scenario that we have.
Thank you. And we've got time for one more from Robert Hiltz at the Ottawa Lookout.
Hi, just a real quick clarification. Earlier in the press conference, you had mentioned that by Monday you expect 10 trains to be ready. So is that just 8 to be running and then 2 kind of in reserve? Did I understand that correctly? That's just kind of what I need clarified.
That's correct. So 8 trains will run during the entire day, during the entire week. Even if we will have 10 trains, because we will use 2 trains to just sometimes if we need to replace a train, sometimes if we want to control the load. So we will use those 2 trains for that.
Thank you, everyone. That's all the time we have for today. Enjoy your afternoons.